this will cut to the core, and you'll realize it's not as intense as long as you have utility and further understanding through problem solving. And that's what the course cut straight to. It worked for me just because.
Hi, Seth. Thanks a lot for your
Hello.
time. I really appreciate you taking time off your schedule. I understand that you're going through some of the final courses of your undergraduate coursework. So thanks a lot for this. And many congratulations on passing the FE electrical and computer exam in the first attempt. So I'd
Thank
like
you.
to get started with your career progression and your motivation for taking the FE electrical and computer exam.
Basically, I was motivated to take it because I wanted a way to validate my education as a baseline for the industry. So if I had the fundamentals that would state to the industry that I know enough to get on the licensing track.
So in your case, Seth, you're actually taking the school part-time, working full-time, and you have some prior experience as well. How many years you've been out of school, and like if you can give a little bit of background, essentially, how your career has progressed and how FE electrical and computer exam, the EID certification, and eventually the PE license is going to help you.
Well, I was working for 10 years on avionics systems and everything else, and I was doing courses here and there, got my associates, and then right about the time I got out of the military, that's when I started my electrical engineering program, and it's been on and off, just part-time, until I got towards the end, and I was thinking about the FE for a little while, and then I got to a point where I kind of aligned where I was going to seek further employment in the engineering field and wanted to turn it to something practical. So that's prime motivator to get the FE done. And of
Right.
course, I want to continue on because I see this as the first step. I want to get to the final step to actually make it worth it. That's would be the PE altogether.
Right. Now, that's very impressive. And you got it done in the first attempt, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. In terms of your exam preparation strategy, which resources did you use? And what was your exam preparation timeline? And with so much on your plate in terms of your schoolwork, in terms of a full-time job, and doing this, so essentially your academics, and how did you manage everything?
Well, basically, I try to carve out time at work with my employer to basically state like, this is a value added component. You can use me for other areas once I'm on that track, and I could possibly have more utility for you. And of course, work with and explain technical components. And my timeline was originally 4 months. I got to my 4th month. I didn't feel quite prepared, so I took 1 more month, and then I felt like I was ready after that. Of course, this course and that study guide material, I did all that, and then I did those practice tests. And I also had this software called Prep FE, and it would generate similar problems. So I did that, and then of course it provided analysis, and I've focused on those categories, but really primarily to dig deep into the ideas, the principles and all that. That was all in your course. So,
Okay, so
I believe I got them
nice. So you
through
saw
your course.
go ahead.
What was that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, basically through your course, I dug down to the principles and got to the point in the utility, and then basically honed my skills that way, brought me back to all of the key points. And then it was a springboard, and then I solved a bunch of problems and I got ready that way.
Nice. So in terms of your primary exam preparation resource, it was a course, then you use a study guide, and then use the quiz bank from
Yeah.
Prep FE. And your original timeline was 4 months. You didn't feel quite ready by that time, and then you gave yourself an extra month. and
Yeah.
you packed a nice punch and went into the exam and got it done. That's great. What about your time management on the exam? What was your strategy?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would say I got confused by the clock. It
Oh, really?
was, yeah, it was like, it would list like 2 minutes or something like that. And then it would, after a while, I didn't really pay attention to it. I was doing the problems. And then, so initially I was overwhelmed. And then I realized I had to approach it a different way. Got up to the question 10, and then I felt horrible about it. Went back to question 1, and I'm like, wait a minute. There are several different things I need to piece together to actually get this to work. And then so I kind of was gradually going through the rest of it. And then what I did is, because I wasn't paying attention to the clock, I kept jumping back, and I checked all 1 through 55 probably 3 or 4 times. And I think I burned a couple hours that way.
Oh,
And
really?
then,
Wow.
yeah. And then I hit the optional break. I just decided to press through it. And then I got to about question 70, and then it said, you have an hour left
Wow.
to complete the test. So I was like, oh no. So I had to rush, and then I made it up to, I think, question 80 or so. I had 15 minutes left. So it was like, well, he told me to answer all the questions, so I did. And some of
Okay.
it I had to just rattle off the top of my head, like, okay, that sounds good enough. That's in the vault there. That's in the range. Okay, I'll put that in there. And
Okay.
then hopefully I got it.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that obviously since you passed the exam, you did well enough. Uh, but I think the fact that, and this is quite an unorthodox approach, right? My recommendation is always, I think you took one of my recommendations, which was never to
Yeah.
leave anything unanswered. That's good. But generally, my recommendation, the other two recommendations that I give in terms of time management, I've actually done a couple of videos on YouTube on this as well. And then when I have one-on-one coaching call with the students, I explain it to them as well. Is that go through the all the questions quite quickly, right? Stop only on the ones which you know you can definitely solve right away, right? And use the flag effectively so that you can go back to the
Yeah.
difficult questions and take a shot at it, and then keep on repeating the cycle until you have covered everything, and try and spend less time on the first section if you can and more time on the second session if you can. And the combination of all this typically works out. In your case, I think you were sort of doing that by sort of cycling through the 55 questions essentially, but I don't know how
Yeah.
effectively. Did you use the flag at all or not?
When I started it, I flagged 1, flagged 2, flagged 3, and then
Okay,
I
so
went
everything
back,
was
and
flagged.
then
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, oh no. And then finally, when I got the idea of how it was structured and how it wanted me to think,
Yeah.
basically I was able to get through it, and then here and there I would flag,
Okay.
but basically all my focus was on that first section and making sure it was absolutely correct.
Right. And I think you probably nailed the first question, because from what you're telling me, your second session again, and it's great that you didn't get to see your diagnostics because it only shows up when you fail the exam.
Yeah.
So it's better to just see that pass sign. But I think you did quite well on the first section, and on the second section, the first 20, 30 questions, whatever you're saying that you were able to spend time on, you probably did decent on them as well. And I think the random guesses, or educated guesses, I should call them, because you still had half a minute to spend on pretty much the remaining questions. You probably were able to score some on that. So it's an orthodox approach, and everyone has a different exam taking style. Everyone has a different learning style. So it really depends on what suits you. And I think in your case, the approach you took, which was a little bit of random approach, I think it worked out well. So for those of you students who are watching this video, if you are okay with the uncertainty and a little bit of randomness involved with bouncing different questions, and if it doesn't, puts you out of your comfort zone, then by all means, yeah, that's great. And any other advice, Seth, that you would have, especially for students like who have been working for about 10 years, just like you, what would be a recommendation to make this journey a little bit easier, to help them study more efficiently and get this thing done in the first attempt? What would you recommend them?
Well, I would say overall, just have a goal in mind as far as what you're going to take this, if you're going to take it to improve your odds and distinguish yourself and work towards the license.
Right.
And basically, if you've been out of school a long time, it'll just show you, it'll give you confidence to say, okay, you can restore your knowledge and continue on your career path. And basically, you can go back to school and forward your education at any point in your life. You don't have to give up,
Right.
but just have a purpose in mind, really.
Yeah, your goal should be basically pulling you towards itself, right? And the goal should be strong enough, and that motivation should be strong enough that you keep moving forward in that direction. And how did the course help you streamline your exam preparation, Seth?
Well, basically, I looked at it like a puzzle, and then took a complicated idea and ultimately just try to take it where kind of difficult to describe, just basically some idea that I didn't quite get when I was in school, and then wanted to elaborate on it more, like the Z transforms and all that, and
Yeah,
better ways to approach the Laplace transforms. Like, oh man,
Fourier
that held me
transforms.
up for, yeah,
Yeah.
in the Fourier transforms, and
Yes.
basically wanted to get to the practical parts of using it
Right.
is really the biggest thing. That you
Right.
know this, it's trapped in there somewhere, and then the utility, you finally connect the dots, really.
Right. Makes sense. And why would you recommend the course and the study guide to someone else?
Basically, it'll get you the fundamentals back. It'll get you, the biggest thing is the practice problems. And initially, if you approach the study guide, it will get, or the IFE handbook, it gets pretty intense, but this will get you, this will cut to the core, and you'll realize it's not as intense as long as you have utility and further understanding through problem solving. And that's what the course cut straight to. It worked for me just because I like to apply it direct, and either getting something right or wrong reminds me of the idea altogether. Like, right or wrong answers just stick in my memory, and like, oh, okay, I see it now.
Right. So Seth, thanks a lot again for your time. And I think that the experience, the journey, and the advice that you have shared will motivate a lot of other students who have been in a similar position, who are in a similar position, 10 years out of school, doing multiple things at the same time, full-time job, part-time studies, your personal commitments and everything, and essentially want to prove yourself in the industry. So if you have that desire, if you have that commitment level, if you have that passion, uh, there's nothing that can stop you. And you have to have a long-term view about your career. Look at it again. It's one of those things that you keep on laying the foundation and then build a set of expertise and skills that will be valued in the market, and it will eventually reward you in both short-term, medium-term, and the long-term. So again, thank you for that. And I look forward to helping you with your P-Power journey as well.